Quidditch is life. And Snape is the worst professor. And Harry almost dies. Of course, that could describe almost anything in Harry Potter. So to help me clarify what chapter this is actually happening in, against her better judgment, is Christina from the restricted section, back-to-back Harry Potter guest. Hi, and welcome to Belated Binge Harry Potter, the re-binge podcast that doesn't take itself or the books too seriously. I'm Zach, your host, and I didn't read this series until my mid-20s. Today we continue Prisoner of Azkaban with Chapter 9, Grim Defeat. The one where Harry sees the Grim, gets attacked by Dementors, and falls off his broom 50 feet above the ground.
The Belated Binge Podcast.
Before we start, spoilers, obviously. Language, definitely. Shout out to Katie, holding it down for the bonus binge squad. If you want to join the fun and get the shout outs and all the bonus content, check out patreon.com/belatedbinge and become a member of the bonus binge squad. Now, let's get to the episode. Before we get into the chapter, welcome back. For some reason, wanting to come back and do this again, it's Christina. Hi.
Hello. Hi. I am very happy to be back. I really like talking about Prisoner of Azkaban. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's fun.
There's a lot. There's a lot of Easter eggy stuff.
Yeah, and the last chapter ended on such a cliffhanger. How could I possibly just tap out then? I need to know what happens after the portrait gets ripped.
I don't know. We've not read these books before. We did talk about your podcast on the last episode, but for the single person who is listening for the first time right now and didn't go back to any of the past episodes, you just thought that you'd start rereading the Harry Potter series at chapter 9 of the third book. That's the way to go and do this. Like, please remind us what your podcasts are.
I have a Harry Potter podcast called The Restricted Section, Harry Potter Slander Book Club podcast. I also have my new podcast. It's called Burn Before Reading, and it's about the shitty writing you did in high school. The shitty writing we all did in high school, really.
Nice. So now I wanted to put I want you to force your babies into a play date. Not literally, not like a literal date, because that's, even in a loose metaphor, is disgusting. But which Harry Potter book belongs on Burn Before Reading?
Oh, wow. Wow. That is so hard. Possibly book 5, because Harry's behavior is super cringy, and I'm trying to think like which book has the grossest adverb overuse. You know, the way that J.K. Rowling will be like, "Don't go down there," Hermione said warningly, and it's like, hey man, you didn't have to say warningly. She's warning him. We already know it's warningly because it's a warning. I think book 5 might be like the worst offender about dumb little things like that, and that's pretty cringy too. So possibly book 5, although my first instinct was book 1, but I'm thinking that a lot of my feeling about that is from the movies, because the kids are such bad actors in those first couple movies.
It's tough.
Cringy.
Yeah, it's tough. That might be so. Chamber of Secrets is the one that I struggle with the most, because it's not only
Me too.
for the movies, they're not good at acting yet, and for the books, it's just a regurgitation of the first book, but without the nostalgia. Like it's the same. It's basically the same notes. They even wind up in a secret room underneath the school to face the secret Dark Lord that nobody else knows is back, like in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
It's like the same book.
And when I was a kid, and I'd only read these books like once or twice, I always got those two books mixed up, because in Sorcerer's Stone, they literally go through a series of secret chambers. So I always was like, that's Chamber of Secrets, but it's not.
Nope. That's the obstacle course.
It really is. What a fun fantasy obstacle course for Hogwarts gym class.
Yeah, Hooch didn't teach that one. In case you were obliviated or got your Hogwarts letter late, let's shove our faces in that white, liquidy substance of our pensive.
No matter how many times I hear you say that, it still makes me just be like, ugh.
That is exactly what I'm going for. Snape was awful to Neville in Chapter 8, Flight of the Fat Lady, even more so than his usual level, but times 2 because I said that exact same thing in the last episode, and it's still true. This time, because he's learned that Neville turned him into a 97-year-old woman in Lupin's class. And Harry doesn't want to go to Hogsmeade, or doesn't get to go to Hogsmeade even though he wants to, and instead he gets to have tea with Lupin. There's a million Easter eggs, even though it's Halloween, and we've got our holidays just all mixed up. Lots of little baby divination moments, and nothing else really happens until the very last sentence of the chapter. That's when we learn that Sirius Black has gotten into Hogwarts and clawed up the portrait of the Fat Lady. And now, Priori in Conchapter, where our wands connect, not the tips, just the streams, so we can recap what went down in the chapter that we just read. Chapter 9, Grim Defeat. In this chapter, Snape continues his run of worst teacher in history, and Harry falls from like 50 feet in the air during a Quidditch match after hearing the cries of his dying mother. It's a cheerful chapter.
Yeah.
We open in the Great Hall where the teachers are searching for Sirius Black, and we're having a slumber party. I guess.
It actually does sound like a lot of fun. And I can't read this anymore without thinking about I think pretty commonly known lore from the films is that during the sleepover scene when they were filming it, oh my god, what is the Dumbledore actor name?
Gambon.
It's Michael Gambon. I can never remember which is which. Michael Gambon put like a fart machine in Daniel Radcliffe's sleeping bag and was making him make fart noises while they were filming.
Which is exactly what you think this kind of slumber party would be like. Just that level of maturity the whole way.
So many farts.
The prefects.
I just think they would be so... Oh, sorry. I'm annoying.
No, say it.
Well, I'll bring it up. I'll bring it up later. You're doing the description.
Well, the prefects are on the lookout, and Percy's in charge, which should definitely go well. I just want to point out that all the students in the school are in danger from an escaped mass murderer, so we put them all in the same giant room with the protection of other children. That's what we're doing.
Definitely not a lot of skill going on in that room, but I do think it's like a numbers thing. It's like, as long as Harry's towards the middle, he's good.
Well, it's like, we didn't leave one professor behind. Nope, prefects are in charge. And
prefects. I do feel like if Sirius Black had decided to like storm in, grab Harry and run, like the children wouldn't stop him.
No, they're not stopping him. And think about what Sirius Black was incarcerated for. Like an explosion spell that killed like a dozen people at one time.
Mm-hmm.
So just to make sure that none of the kids get hurt by Sirius Black coming after one of these children, let's make sure that all of the children are in the same small confined space that one explosion could just do them all in, all at once. And their only protection is themselves, because we didn't leave a single professor behind.
Oh my god. Well, but Dumbledore loves them, so there should be love magic. No?
There it is.
No.
The choices are interesting, to say the least. Interesting.
Yeah. You definitely leave one teacher with the students.
Yeah, you probably ought to do that. And maybe one that has any level of competency with a wand at all. Leave Flitwick.
Maybe Lupin. Flitwick's very good. Lupin, someone who is nice to children and
can duel.
Snape, he's really mean and can duel.
Yeah.
Flitwick is an underused character in this series. Like, he seems so cool. He seems really funny and fun. And we almost never get a word from him. And when we do, he's usually disciplining Harry and Ron.
Which is funny because I think our first word that we get from him is like, Doesn't he like squeak in excitement when he calls
Sure
Harry's
does.
name on like the roll call?
Yep.
He's just
Yep.
like, oh, Harry Potter, oh, in my class, oh my goodness. But also, he's like a total badass dueling master, which we don't learn, and he
Yeah.
wasn't actually involved in dueling club at all when we had that in the last book either.
And he should have been.
You think maybe? I'm sorry, if you're gonna give a professor that
Lockhart.
backstory, maybe have him in the dueling club.
So
Maybe,
dumb.
maybe don't make it Snape.
And it's like, oh, everyone knows about Dumbledore's legendary duel with Grindelwald, but then I want to know, who did Flitwick duel? How did he get this name as like a legend? Who did he kill?
Well, here's the thing that I think in my head canon or whatever is that this was like organized sport. This was like fencing,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
not like war,
They should have a
you know?
different name for it then if you also duel people to the death.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. For whatever reason, that's just what it feels like to me. It feels like
Yeah, that
his
makes
is a
sense.
formal title that he got by like an organized li-
Mm-hmm.
thing as opposed to like
An organization.
yeah, like it's a ribbon, it's a plaque on his wall from
Yeah.
a tournament that he won, not
He
he
lettered
led it.
in dueling.
Yeah, yeah, he's got the jacket. It's sewed on
Yeah.
that weird felt material. Anyway, um,
My brother Ryan lettered in academics. I didn't even know that's something you could do, but apparently, if you get good enough grades, you can letter in academics.
I feel like that's just like the participation trophy mentality going a bit haywire.
It's like, let the smart kids be sporty. You can
Yeah,
you can also letter in band and like a couple other things that are not sports.
yeah, I guess. I just don't. I'm not against the inclusion aspect of it, but I also think it's okay for different types of students to
Yeah,
have
like
different things. You
totally
know?
just let this be about sports.
Yeah, like let the sports be this thing and let the academics be this thing and let the
Yeah,
band be this like they can have their own different things. You don't have to give the football player whatever the band thing is either.
totally. I think that's why it was like so funny when he brought that home. We were like, that shouldn't be possible.
Yeah, like that's an odd thing. I did not know that existed. Okay. Ron does point out that Sirius must have lost track of time being locked up and didn't realize that it was Halloween. Otherwise, he would have burst into the party, not try to get into the common room. Here's a question that I have. Do you think that's exactly why he tried to get in when he did?
I think it is because he knows that Hogwarts has this feast.
Mm-hmm.
I also have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that he was slashing the portrait like because he was trying to like get through? He's like, I'm gonna slash a hole and like go through. Because why would he slash the hell out of the portrait lady?
I think that it's supposed to be one, I think, a clue for him being a dog, for starters. And
Oh, because it's like three, is it?
I think
Like three
yeah,
gashes,
maybe.
like a paw.
Yeah, and I also think it's supposed to be I think it's supposed to represent that he has been locked up for so long and he is a bit maniacal at this moment. Like that's what
Mm-hmm.
he's supposed to like that's what they're supposed to be afraid of or whatever. And I think he is a little bit unhinged, but he's also very organized in it. Like, but he had gotten this
Uh-huh.
close. He'd gotten this far and he couldn't get
Yeah.
this thing. I almost wonder if it was more just like a frustration of like,
Yeah.
damn it. Nah.
But
You didn't
I
let
I
me in.
do know that
Because he also knows he's not going to hurt it's a
that's
painting.
true. He knows it doesn't hurt. I
Yeah.
mean, we don't know it doesn't hurt.
I mean, I think
But you would think it did.
yeah, I'm
You would think
pretty
it
sure it
doesn't
doesn't
hurt.
hurt because she's still here. She's hiding in another painting, but like she's still alive,
Yeah, she's
or alive, quote
unharmed.
unquote. Yeah, yeah. And I'm fairly certain portraits can't feel pain, but I guess I don't know that for sure. But I think one, he wouldn't want to get caught trying to get into the castle. I think he
Yeah.
also wouldn't actually want to harm or scare any of the children. And he's there specifically to get Peter Pettigrew, not traumatized children. So he's probably been like sitting around counting down the days to a moment like Halloween when he knows
Yeah.
that the kids are all going to be concentrated in another area of the castle and
He's like,
Scabbers will hopefully be in the dorm like on his own and he can get in then.
yeah. Yeah, and it's because they're just assuming that he's after Harry, that they're like
Mm-hmm.
lucky that he had no idea where we'd be and like came to get you when you weren't there. But it's like if they had thought about it, like, oh, he went to school here, maybe he like actually did that really intentionally.
Yeah, you would think. You would think. But and
But
I do wonder if
they're like, he must be a
Dumbledore's
dumb idiot.
yeah, that's what Ron and Harry and them are thinking, but I do wonder if
Yeah.
Dumbledore didn't take note of that. Because one thing that strikes me a little
Yeah.
bit is how quickly Dumbledore is to believe and like take Sirius's side and actually
I was
want to
thinking,
free him later in this book. So he has to be starting to put
yeah.
some pieces in in place in his mind, or he wouldn't have just like
Yeah.
gone that quick, I don't think.
I was thinking about this earlier. I totally agree with you. I think that like we cannot forget that Dumbledore can read minds. So
Yeah.
I always assumed that like Harry's like he's telling the truth, and Dumbledore's like, "Oh, you're literally being completely honest right now. That's real." But
Yeah.
I also think that he probably suspected beforehand based on these clues. Like you said, I think both things are true.
Yeah, I never thought of it. Honestly, even writing the notes, I didn't think of it until this moment. I didn't really clock the Dumbledore part of this, but I also wonder a little bit if that's also not why he just left the kids with the kids because I wonder if he's not starting to kind of think if he wanted the kids, he wouldn't have gone at the portrait when nobody was there. What is this really?
Yeah.
And so let me make sure the
Yeah.
kids aren't wandering. The kids aren't going to get themselves like hurt or in danger by Dementors and everything else that's trying to kill them in this castle while we try to find
Mhm.
him and find out. It does make you it makes you ponder a little bit.
Yeah.
Our trio's doing a lot of pondering and speculating about how he got into the castle, and Hermione gets all pissy when she's the only one that's read Hogwarts history and how
Classic.
Hogwarts
She
is
never stops being pissy about that.
yep, not ever. And Hogwarts is totally impenetrable, shooting down every idea for how he got in and ignoring the fact that he got in.
He just did. Yeah. What if it was a vanishing cabinet, Hermione?
This is the version of Hermione that's still very, very annoying, particularly in these early books, where a history textbook holds every single answer, and there can't possibly be an outcome that wasn't accounted for in 1822
Well,
when the book was written.
yeah, and we were talking in the last chapter about Hermione, just kind of like being really like petulant
Yeah,
about like the things that she thinks she's right about.
yeah,
It takes real growth to be like, it actually doesn't matter if I'm right in
yeah,
the end.
yeah. Yeah, they hadn't figured out plumbing yet, but they definitely had all the answers to stop dark wizards from entering a place they weren't supposed to be. For sure. Definitely. Harry gets to overhear Dumbledore talking to Percy and do a lot of eavesdropping, and
Hmm.
Dumbledore just may or may not have been speaking just loud enough to make sure that Harry could hear him. Maybe not. I don't know. Why do this in
So you
private
think
when
this was
Harry
on
can hear?
purpose?
I don't
Yes. It's like, why on earth?
yeah, I don't think that it wasn't on purpose. Like, I'm not saying he was like planting Percy right next to Harry to talk to, but I definitely don't think that he was like trying to not be overheard. And he wasn't talking
Yeah, that's
by
interesting.
Harry like on total
I guess he's
accident.
not. Yeah, he's not saying anything crazy. He just probably like knows that Harry's awake because he can
Yeah,
read minds, and he's like, "Yeah, we haven't found him. That's the update."
yeah, Yeah, and we get that there's a new portrait, and talking to Snape, Snape thinks that Lupin let him in, and Dumbledore shuts it down real quick, and all of that. We have to have these,
Yeah.
these little mysteries to solve. And
Yeah.
now he has to go tell the Dementors that they're done searching because he wouldn't let them in to look himself. Here's a question I have for you. How does that conversation go? How do they even communicate? Is this like how Dumbledore
Uh
just like knows how to speak Mermish, or what, or like how
uh
do you have to speak Dementor? You got to speak
um
Demented, and Dumbledore's probably pretty demented, yeah?
I w- I wonder if they can like listen and hear, and so he like has the authority to give them orders, and they're like they understand the orders he gives, but like I don't imagine that they could speak back, not when they are literally just an empty sucking vessel.
Yeah. I think that makes sense too. This was another theory that I had read that surprised me and I hadn't heard. And I think I've brought it up somewhere else ever before. I don't know where it was or why, but the idea that a Dementor is actually somebody who has had, like, received the Dementor's kiss.
Oh, that's what you like turn into.
Yeah, that's what you turn into. And then you're
It's
just
like when you
like,
hang out. It's like when you hang out with the One Ring too long, you turn into Gollum.
maybe. I don't know. I'm not a Lord of the Rings nerd. Um,
Interesting.
is
Yeah,
it
I mean that
though?
makes sense because I think it, oh, well, no. No, I just remembered.
Oh,
I don't remember if it's the beginning of book 5 or book 6. I think it's actually the beginning of book 6 where like it's very misty in Britain and
they
everyone's like,
say they're
what's this mist
breeding.
about? And someone says the Dementors are breeding, and that's what the mist is.
Well, let's move past feeling like that mist is literal semen all over us, but
Ugh,
the
no.
but we don't know
Does feel
what
that
that
way.
breeding process is. It could be kissing people and sucking their souls out to create more of them.
Whoa. I wonder. Oh my God.
And they could be doing it to muggles.
I feel like sorry to do this, but I
No,
feel
do it.
like there's this connotation to the word breeding
Hmm.
that implies like you need like a sexual
Hmm.
act. I think like procreate could be done by just like giving someone a Dementor's kiss. But maybe that's not even right. And I'm like so afraid to Google the semantics of the word breeding, as
Don't
that
want to get
is
on
a
that
pretty
list.
popular kink, I think. Yeah. Um, but yeah, that's interesting
I thought so
because
too.
I don't actually there's so many roads I will walk down for Harry Potter. I don't know if Dementor sex is one I want to keep walking down.
Well, all right, let's
However
not.
they do it, good for them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need to know the anatomy um things that are going on there. What I do need to know, what I do need to know is who the next portrait is. Sir Cadogan,
Oh.
alas.
Okay, Jim Dale says like
Oh, Sir Cadogan.
Cadogan. Cadogan. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I was
Maybe
like,
I've been
"What?"
saying it wrong the whole time, or maybe
Well, I
I don't
said
know.
Cadogan. One of my smartest friends, Brooke, says I can't do it.
You can't
I
get over
can't
the
say
Dementor
it.
sex.
I know. I just literally can't say Cadogan like the way that there's Cadogan.
Ah,
That sounds so stupid, but I guess like Jim Dale with his accent makes it sound better.
that's true. That's true. And you're right. Well, whatever, however you want to say it. Well, this is a safe place for Catagadugans, and
Yeah, choose your own pronunciation.
yeah, go for it. It sounds hilarious to have this just clown be your way in and out of the portrait hole. Probably just infuriating but also hilarious. Constantly changing the password, challenging them to duels all the time. Just we needed the levity, I think. And um, Professor McGonagall, I'd actually forgot that this happened. She actually pulls Harry aside to try to tell him that like Sirius is out to kill him, which he already knows. And this
Hmm.
is her reasoning for not wanting him to practice Quidditch anymore. And it's wild to me.
He's like, "Are you sure?" And she's like,
Mm,
"I do actually want you guys to win, so I'll reconsider that."
yeah, this is a major internal struggle for good old Prof McGee. Her desire to protect a child mixing with her borderline degenerate obsession with underage Quidditch that you know she's gambling on.
Hmm.
But Quidditch wins because Quidditch is life. And
Quidditch is live.
she settles for hooch babysitting, which I imagine should actually be a spin-off show that has nothing to do with Harry Potter, but just a show called Let the Hooch Babysit.
I love that.
And they're at their last practice, they find out that Malfoy's still faking his injury, and that got Slytherin out of their game to put Hufflepuff in place. And this is, I mean,
Which is crazy.
it's
That's
wild.
so crazy because in book 6, Harry Potter got knocked unconscious in the middle of a game and they finished the game anyway. Like, fuck you and your seeker. But Slytherin gets to like completely rewrite the schedule.
Mhm.
Doesn't make any sense to me.
Yep. And it's whatever. They're just pansy asses that don't want to play in the cold. But really, what we're doing is we're getting introduced to Cedric Diggory
And
through
oh yeah,
giggling. A lot
I
of
was gonna say
giggling.
Cho Chang, but I always forget that Cho is in Ravenclaw.
Yeah. Yep. Nope. This is the Cedric Diggory. This is the gaggle of girls giggling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Katie and Alicia
Mm-hmm.
and Angelina are like, oh, I mean the tall hot one. And I'm like,
Yeah.
good for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I love
Yep.
giggling girls.
I mean, their brooms are wet from the rain, and we get more pregame stuff because again, say it with me, kids. Quidditch is,
Quidditch is live. Quidditch is live.
and it makes Harry late for Defense Against the Dark Arts because of Wood. Pause for that joke to land. And Snape is subbing, so they lose points immediately, and more for Harry being nosy instead of sitting down. And this is where Harry starts thinking again that Snape poisoned Lupin, and that's why Lupin's too sick to come to class and all of this.
Yeah, I mean, the evidence is strong.
I mean, it's funny because we have this like Snape is always a red herring all the time. Harry always suspects Snape, and Snape
Hmm.
is always doing shitty things that justify Harry suspecting him of doing the shitty things.
Yeah.
It, but it is a bit exhausting, mostly because I hate Snape so much. And he's a dick to Hermione as usual because he only wants to shit on Lupin in front of the kids. He doesn't want them to actually learn anything. And he wants to make sure that she has all of her just studious dreams just crushed into her soul
That's the
because he
thing.
hates
Like,
her.
how do how do you not just, and it's because he's a Nazi. But like, how do you not just like respect her like how much she puts herself through in the name of academia as a teacher? How do you not respect that? It's because he's a Nazi, but it drives me crazy.
If she wasn't friends with Harry Potter, she wouldn't be treated this way.
Yeah, that's true. And that's insane. And you should fire a teacher who acts like
Yeah.
this.
I said this to Radio Mike in the last episode, and or not the last episode, the pre the one
The last
that he
guest.
was on. Yes, the
Yeah.
last guest I had before you. It's the chapters are blurring together for me, but the I think that the fandom takes a lot of liberties to drag down Dumbledore and his decision making throughout this whole
Hmm.
series, and some of it is merited, some of it they just don't. They just want to hate Dumbledore and all of that, and do you boo boo, but In my opinion, the fact that Snape is continuously employed as a professor at this school is actually the biggest black mark on Dumbledore's resume.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah. I would actually totally agree with that statement. Like I think it's uh that and plus the other big thing for me is continuing to send Harry back to the Dursleys, who are just like really upfront about being super abusive.
I can still like caveat that annoyance for me because of the
Don't say love
blood.
magic.
Well,
Don't say
he
love magic.
well, I have to because he placed that charm on the Dursley's house himself.
But what you can do is, first of all, how long does he need to be there for the love magic to work? Because
Well,
could he
that's
be there for one night, or does he have to be there for like 2 weeks? And if he can be there for 2 weeks, Dumbledore, why don't you take your ass down to fucking number 4 Privet Drive and say, I know you treat this kid like shit and you literally have to stop. I'm the most powerful wizard in the world and I'll fucking kill you. If you keep abusing this kid, he waits until book 6 to be like, you've been treating him very badly this whole time, and I've been watching.
that part I
Sorry,
could
apparently
not.
that's a trigger for me.
Well, that is the part that I couldn't agree more with. Um, I think the sending him back is a necessity for that charm to stay, and him recognizing that place as a home is an inherent piece
Tell the
of the magic. So
tell the
that part,
Dursleys that Ron has to go with him.
yeah, it's
There's like
the
so many ways to do it better.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. So for me, it's not the sending him back; it's the not intervening in what is happening there.
Yeah.
That is the
Yeah,
part
yeah,
that
totally.
that is a problem for me, particularly
Oh,
by this
it's a
point.
problem.
Because, like I said, I have this Dumbledore like theory that is like working itself out, and in this book, he's trying to give him family. That's why Lupin's there. He's just now starting to take an interest in Harry's happiness as a person. At this point, up until
Yeah,
this
it's
point,
true.
I believe that Dumbledore has seen Harry as no more than a chess piece that he has to make sure stays alive in order to
Mm-hmm.
fulfill the prophecy to kill Voldemort. That is it. That is
Mm-hmm.
all Harry has been until the end of book 2 when he has the moment in the office where he showed Dumbledore the type of loyalty that would send Fox, and that
Mm-hmm.
in that like basically broke Dumbledore down from being able to keep himself separated. Because I don't think that Dumbledore was doing it just because, like, I hate kids, I hate this kid, I don't care about this kid, but I think he purposefully had to try to disassociate himself. Like, this kid is very
Yeah.
important for a specific prophecy reason, and I can't let myself get attached to him because,
Yeah.
like, that's going to make it way harder to do what I have to do. But he couldn't eventually he couldn't help it, and by this point he should have gone to the Dursleys. Like at the end of this book, when the next time he has to go back, or at the end of the second book, like that is the latest point in which he should have been on the Dursleys' doorstep and being like, if you keep abusing this child, I will cut your heads off very slowly, very painfully. You will be nearly headless Dursleys.
Yeah, I think that the one thing everyone can agree on is that Dumbledore throughout this series what has been put in a very tough position. Whether or not
It
you agree
really
with
is.
how he
Mm-hmm.
handled it, it's tough. It's really tough. He's in a
It's
pickle.
It's very, very difficult. Alas, though, it's funny. That was another thing Radio Mike said. He's like, actually, he kind of took that upon himself. His number one job is to be the headmaster of this
Hmm.
school, not kill Voldemort.
Yeah, yeah.
But
It's
I
I
mean,
guess
he
it's like
was
great
the
power comes
one.
great responsibility because he just is like so powerful.
Very true, and he was the one that the prophecy was made to. So like, he's
Oh
got
yeah,
skin in this
that's
game,
true.
whether he wants it or not. Anyways,
Yeah.
he assigns Snape back to the chapter. Snape assigns werewolves in the class. We know why he's doing it. But like, what's the end game here? What do you think that like why?
He's trying to out Lupin.
We know that he's trying to out Lupin, but how's he actually think this is gonna go?
He's banking on Hermione Granger figuring it out and raising the alarm. I think he's trying to get Lupin fired. I think he doesn't want to look at his face.
Yeah, that's true. And I think it's really funny that you said that he's really banking on Hermione to figure it out, because I want to read to you the third bullet on my list of questions to ask you on this topic. Do you
Oh.
think he's really banking on Hermione to figure it out?
I'll say yes.
As much as he hates her, it is impossible to believe that he's not doing this with her specifically in this classroom
Yeah.
deliberately.
Yeah, totally. Especially because she has now a proven history of like meddling and being nosy and figuring stuff out. After the basilisk last year, she figured it out.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So yes, I do think he's completely banking on her.
Yep. And he
He
continues.
respects her. She's smart. He just is
She's,
such an asshole.
yeah. Yeah, it's infuriating. He continues to shit all over Lupin, which is also infuriating. He continues to take points away for Hermione answering his questions correctly because he hates
Oh
her.
my god.
And
Oh
Ron
my god.
defends her immediately. Let me say that again. Ron
Mhm.
defends her immediately,
Mhm.
just in case the producers might be listening of the movies. Ron defends her immediatly.
Yeah.
I think it's too late
Yes.
for them to change that in the movies.
I don't know. There's still time.
Book Ron's actually a good character. He doesn't care about
Yeah,
taking
he
attention to tell Snape
sure
off.
is. Yes, he would actually love to. If there's one thing about a Weasley, it's that they'll fucking fight for you.
Yeah, yeah. But,
They're already in a fight, and now it can be about you. The thing about the Weasleys is that they're already in a fight right now.
yeah, I don't know. But the Rupert Grint makes some really funny faces, so I'm glad we at least got that. Here's the piece
Hmm.
of this homework assignment that Snape gives them that I just wanted to illuminate. How to recognize and kill a werewolf.
Ooh, yeah, that's damning.
And that's not an accident either.
Wow. Yeah, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
Come on, Snape.
I want you to write me an essay on how you kill your professor that I hate.
Yeah, especially because like whatever Lupin and Snape's history is, and I'm sure Lupin was extremely permissive of a lot of James and Snape's behavior, of James and Sirius's behavior. We see that in the pensive, but like you know that since coming to work in this position, you know Lupin has been nothing but polite to him. You know
Oh,
what
for
I
sure.
mean? Like obviously he's an adult now. And so
Yeah.
like harboring this resentment is just like it just really shows how Snape has still not grown up at all. He's like still holding on to his high school love, his high school nemesis. Like he cannot let go. He peaked in high school, and that's very depressing because he was not good in high school.
No, and that's another I actually like would love to see an unbiased Marauders story, because
Yeah.
we don't see anything from the Marauders that is not bias. The
Yeah, it's really
fandom,
hard to know what actually happened.
yeah, the fandom is so accepting of the fact that James
They
was an
love the
absolute
Marauders.
bully and
Yeah.
treat just like
Or
was a horrible
or they
person
like
or
to
whatever.
imagine that he wasn't, you know.
I literally have never seen that one. Not once. I've seen nothing but James is the biggest bully piece of shit on earth. Snape was a victim and bullied. And the only thing that we get is James hated Snape because Snape was obsessed with the dark arts, and James hated the dark arts so bad. And
Yeah.
while James did go after Snape at every chance he got, Snape also took every liberty to go after and curse James every chance that he
Yeah.
got.
It
Like,
was mutual.
yes, and we don't ever actually, at least I don't see it on the internet that I, peruse. I never see an unbiased, like, mutual, these two people legitimately just hated each other. You only see it through,
Who's the victim?
yeah, James attack.
Yeah.
Like, James was the biggest piece of crap ever. And that I don't know why, but I always feel the need to point that out because the only true representation that we actually see in the books is through Snape's
Mm-hmm.
perspective. That we know he
Yeah.
can't be like unbiased and fair about. He's not unbiased and fair about anything as an adult.
Yeah. And then like Harry goes to Lupin and is like, "Can you confirm or deny this?" And Lupin's like, "I definitely don't deny it, but like everyone grows up, like that's not
And
like the
there's
whole
context here,
person. That's
yeah.
not like the whole yeah, there's context here. That's not the whole story. Was it bad? Yeah, but like we were all shitty in high school."
Yeah. Yeah. Uh anyways, I can't keep taking us on these side tangents.
I
Speaking of
love it.
shitty, Peeves wakes up Harry in the middle of the night. Is this a thing that just happens a lot?
I love that Peeves came up in this chapter and the last chapter. I love Peeves. If nothing else, he's extremely fun to talk about. I have no idea. I think he does just like fuck with it's like he's on like Jackass and like no one else is playing. You know what I mean? Like he's just
It,
trying to fuck shit up at all times.
it blows my mind a little bit because I've heard somewhere recently that like Peeves has some sort of. It seems like Peeves has some sort of like unspoken agreement with the professors not to disrupt class.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But waking kids up in the middle of the night, totally fair game, I guess.
Fair
It,
game.
it
That
feels
won't
like,
disrupt class at all.
yeah, it feels like that's a line that shouldn't be crossed, even if you're a
Yeah.
spirit of some sort. I don't know. But it's happening, and it's happening specifically so that we can get reminded again of Crookshanks. That's why.
Oh yes, sure, because
Hmm.
he's trying to sneak into the dorm.
Uh-huh. Yep. And
Cats are like this.
yeah, and reminding us who Cedric is, you know, which
Sure.
yeah, we're just setting that up for next book. We've at
Is
this
he in the breakfast hall?
No, it was like Harry reminiscing, I guess, on like
Oh,
Wood
okay.
Wood had pointed out Cedric and who he was going to be going up against as Seeker in the
Harry's like,
match,
I
and
have a crush.
he's actually like big, and that's actually going to be like really helpful in these
Oh
conditions,
yeah.
and like
I'm looking
he's
I asked
fretting
that because
it.
I'm looking at my notes from the restricted section about this chapter and I was like,
Mhm.
where's Cedric? Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah, it's why it's kind of thrown away, but it's literally just here because we're setting up Cedric to be a thing for the next book.
Yeah, totally.
And here's the thing that I don't think was set up correctly and why I'm harping on it from this chapter, because otherwise it's not important. He says that Cedric is a fifth year, making him a
Uh-huh.
sixth year in Goblet of Fire. But you have to be
Oh.
of age to enter the Triwizard Tournament.
Oh my god, he got held back a grade.
Is that's what I mean? He's an of age wizard, and he's only in his sixth year of like that. My math isn't mathing on that. Am I crazy?
Um, like my only explanation is like I think Hermione's birthday is like the first day of term or something. It's like September 3rd or something. So I think in her 6th year she would have turned 17 right away. Um so I literally think that like he either I what I think is that it's a gross oversight. But but it could be explained if his birthday is in September and I'm going to Google it. Cedric Diggory's birthday. The internet knows everything like this.
Definitely, and it must be true if it's there.
It says it says September, October, but I'm sure that it has been retroactively engineered from the information we're talking about right now.
Probably. You know what else we're
Yeah.
getting right now? We're
What?
getting so much talk about the weather. So
Oh
much
my god,
weather
I
talk.
know. I know.
Gearing
It's
up
like
for
I
this.
don't care how much it's raining or whatever.
It's just it's gearing it up for the Quidditch match. It's so much. And shout out to
It's how
Wood. That let me I'm did you have the same immature note that I had when Wood was supposed to be giving his speech, but he got lockjaw? So
No.
that is how it was described in this chapter. He couldn't give his pregame speech. It was as if he got lockjaw. So shout out to Wood forgetting Lockjaw. And yes, I am that immature. Harry, like, flies around in the rain for a little while. We get a timeout, which is apparently a thing in Quidditch only right now. Harry doesn't even
Sure,
know the
sure.
score because he's only attentive when the plot needs him to be. And Hermione shows up
Hmm.
in the huddle, which is apparently a thing that happens. And let me tell you how often that happens in real sports. That a fan just gets to leave their seat
Run
in the
on.
stadium, run onto the field, into the that happens when somebody's trying to go streaking and they get tackled. That's
Es-
when that happens.
Especially like she's like a very bookish nerd. It's like, what are you doing out here?
Yeah, and it's so funny with the way that we are also like described the Quidditch pitch and how the stands are like elevated and like how there's not really a feasible way for her to have just like walked onto the pitch from here. She would have had to have been
Hmm.
premeditatively gone down however many flights of stairs, got to the bottom, run out,
Right.
and just known that a timeout was coming to be right here, led onto the field where she wouldn't be allowed to
Yeah.
be, into the huddle that she
She
wouldn't be allowed to go into.
she probably was waiting. She probably was like, fuck, I have this really good idea. If they have a timeout, I need to be right there. I think she probably was waiting. But it is crazy that they're like, yeah, Hermione. I guess they all just trust Hermione. They're like, she probably has a good
Sure.
idea. She doesn't care about sports. Let her on.
And Hooch is fine with it. Everything's cool.
Everyone's
It's
fine with it.
sure. And Hufflepuff is the nice, friendly house, so they're just like, yes, totally fine. Go cheat. It's good. But she does manage to give him a Rain-X spell on his glasses, so that's good. He can now see the black dog in the stands, because that's what we have to get to. We got to get to the
Yes.
black dog in the top of the stands being such a distraction and then disappearing immediately because it has to be ominous, like a grim. Uh,
Hmm.
it 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 distracts him long enough for Cedric to see the snitch first, and it's gonna be like, oh, here we
Hmm.
go. We're gonna have our heroic moment where Harry's able to get to the snitch first, even though he didn't have a head start, and all of that, except the Dementors attack him and make him relive the death
Yeah.
of his mother.
It's
And
almost like the Dementors and Dumbledore aren't communicating very well.
gee, yeah, that's quite a thought, isn't it? And so as he's
Oh dear.
reliving the death of his mother, he almost falls to his own.
Oh my god.
And this is the first case that we have of Harry, or not is, this is a continuation of Harry remembering shit from the night that his parents were killed. And I just have to ask,
Yeah.
is this magic? He was a year old
Um,
when it happened. Like,
wow. Um, uh, yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. Like, I don't know if the stuff that you're too young to really remember. I think it does. I think it's inside of you. That's how what trauma is.
yeah. Yeah, I guess I just
So
don't
maybe
know.
it's real, and the
Mhm.
Dementor's power is that they can pull it out, you know?
That's interesting. That's interesting. It's actually an interesting parallel as well that I hadn't thought of until right in this moment. And this is another bonus episode that I'm going to do at some point in time. But you probably know without having watched the show that have a binge of Sons of Anarchy going. And one of the things that happens in that show, spoiler, 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 is that the main protagonist's child, as an infant, is kidnapped. And I've
Okay.
like had conversations about that show about whether the kid remembers that at all. Like if that's locked away
Yeah.
in there somewhere. He's like a year old. He can't like form that as a memory, but as a traumatic
Yeah, a trauma.
moment, like is it somehow there somewhere affecting him even though he doesn't have any way
Mhm.
of actually knowing it? Or
Yeah.
I also wonder, bringing it back to Harry Potter, is this potentially one? We know that like wizard people, magic people, like live longer than
Uh-huh.
normal not magic people do. Perhaps their memories are more like uh, form more regularly, or it's like, could this somehow be like the sacrificial nature, and so it held on? Or, and this is the one that kind of took me aback a little bit when I thought of it, and why I'm fumbling my way to it.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that he's actually reliving this moment more like more like accurately and more almost personally
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
because of the piece of Voldemort's soul that's inside him? A
Oh my
soul that is
God.
more than old enough at that time to form memories.
Whoa. And it's crazy because like that, like his mom dying was also like a very real, like physical slash magical trauma to him because he did get Horcrux right in the face
Yep.
at that time. So it's like, oh, that's very interesting. I do think that like we see other ways that this little piece of Voldemort gives Harry these extra powers, like parcel tongue and like his like tele. It's not telekinesis, telepathy type of like. Well, that's not
His
what it
his
is either.
his ESPN. His ESP.
ESPN, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like I wouldn't be surprised if it also, yeah, like held on to this information that Harry's waking mind like didn't.
And it's also funny or interesting that this would have been a traumatic moment for that shard of soul as well. And if that shard of soul was
Whoa.
forced to relive
Whoa.
its trauma by a Dementor, it would be this moment
Whoa.
when it got ripped.
Whoa. What?
And
What? What's happening? Oh my God. It's really annoying how much time I've invested into my Harry Potter podcast, and there's still stuff that I've never thought about before.
what?
How
And
is it
what's
still fun to talk about?
I know I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense. And also, I don't think there's an original thought to be had left in this series. So somebody has thought of this at some point in time, just
I'm
not
sure
us.
that's true, but it makes perfect sense. Like, that's really solid.
Anyway, Harry wakes up with a crowd of people around his bed in the hospital wing. His friends.
Oh,
And
it's really funny. This just happened in Half Blood Prince where he was playing Quidditch and then suddenly he woke up in the hospital wing and it's like, oh, you poor sweetie.
thanks, McLagan. He's the worst.
uh, he is. I love watching him, but it's a nightmare.
Yeah. His friends and his teammates are there for him. Good for them. They were scared that he was dead. And the first thing that he asks is who won the game. And the only one that didn't show up is Wood, who's still in the showers because Quidditch is life. Who cares if Harry lost his? Quidditch is life. We lost the game. Anyway,
Yeah.
Wood's a dick.
R.I.P. Wood.
Hermione lets him know that Dumbledore saved him from dying by slowing his fall, and then made the Dementors go away by some kind of white substance or something. It's a Patronus. We're not allowed to know that's a thing yet.
We don't know yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad, when I was a kid, when Dumbledore in the movie is like, Arresto momentum. And my dad likes to be pretentious about other people's intelligence. And so it's obviously like extremely transparent Latin. Like it's not hard at all. And so my dad would stand in front of the movie, in front of the TV and be like, stop the fall. And when I was like, 14, that was extremely funny.
It's still funny now.
A little funny. Dads are funny in their own way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we hope to be anyways. I hope that my kid one day is, hopefully reaches higher than a Harry Potter podcast to reflect on it, but reflects on moments that we have and gets to remember them fondly.
Your kid's podcast is going to be called Life as the Daughter of a Guy with a Harry Potter Podcast.
And she's going to be rereading the Harry Potter books that she hasn't read since she was a toddler because that's when Dad read them to her, and she hated every second of. But now she loves it because it reminds her of her dad, who I don't know, got forked in the eyeball at some thing. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a weird way to go out because I don't want to predict my own actual demise, and I hope that I'm 110.
I think you can live without the eyeball. I think if your eyeball gets forked, you can survive that.
It's true. It's tough to live after getting forked to the back of the head, though. Another Sons of Anarchy reference there. You really should watch the show.
Uh,
Um, it's it's worth it.
Maybe someday.
It's uh, it's Hamlet on motorcycles.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
All right.
legit.
Well, that changes everything.
It's it is legit a soap opera told like with leather on, and
That's very
and
funny.
sometimes the leather is bikers, and sometimes the leather is a whole other thing. Um,
Ooh.
Harry offhandedly asks for his broom and learns that it got crushed by the Whomping Willow.
Oh,
He just went
so
through
hard.
depression in physical form. He almost died from falling like 50 feet out of the sky. And now his broom is broken. And that's
Hmm.
the worst news he's gotten. Quidditch his life. Harry might as well be dead.
Yeah. He's really I get it. I get it. It's hard. It's
It
like
is.
when your car is totaled. It's like, damn, I really vibed with the one I had though.
Yeah, I imagine that's a more normal, thought process for people to have. I think of it like I grew up as an athlete, so like I get the Quidditch is life thing, even though Quidditch as a
Hmm.
sport is stupid. I do get it. I grew up also like riding dirt bikes, and so to me,
Hmm.
that's what I equate the broomstick to. Is like that would
Yeah.
be me on my dirt bike. So like I get it. In my motorcycle now, like if it took a shit, yeah, I'd be down.
That'd
Um,
be sad. But luckily, Harry, you are rich. So you financially, this is fine for you.
you can get another broomstick. And ironically, he doesn't have to buy his own, but we're not there yet. Is there
Oh
anything from the
yeah.
chapter we missed that you wanted to hit on?
I don't think so. Let me scroll through my notes, which I took 3 years ago for my own podcast.
That's
Um,
really funny,
just like
though, that you're able to do
what?
that. Like,
Yeah.
reference your own notes from your own show when you go. I've never been able to do that because every podcast that I've ever guested on, I'm going forward in the series.
Oh yeah, that's true. That is really funny.
I'm the one that's like
Um,
farthest behind of all of the people that I've collaborated with. So, like, you all get to
I got all the
like,
notes.
yeah, bring your thoughts. I have
Well,
to like,
and last summer I
Mhm.
took notes for books 5, 6, and 7
Oh
so that
wow.
I wouldn't have to. Yeah, I had a job where I did a lot of sitting. It was like a brewery that did not get a lot of attention.
Mm,
And so I did all of them. So I've had those for a while.
wow.
Um,
I'm
w-
not that
I-
organized and ahead of time.
it's just it's like if you have a time opportunity and you know you need to get something done, I just take
Mhm.
it. You know what I mean?
I get it.
Um,
I can actually relate a little bit, and this is almost like a sneak peek for the listeners on the podcast. All tens of you, listen up. Um, so I actually it was either last night or the night before, finished up my notes from the next new binge that will take place that I have not announced yet.
Ooh.
And I've
Oh my
actually
god.
like I treated that one as if like I took the opportunity like you said, and I actually wrote my notes for the whole like first season of the thing. I haven't
Nice. That's
obviously
awesome.
recorded all of that, but like all of those notes are taken, which I've never been that
Hell
far
yeah.
ahead on any of this stuff. I was taking these
Feels
notes
good.
like last week.
That's
Anyways,
awesome. That's so exciting.
I imagine you have something in these notes that you
Hmm?
I imagine you had something in the notes that I interrupted you from saying.
Oh, no, not really. I just think I know we already talked about this, but I do think it is funny that Madam Hooch is on staff for like like 20 hours a year.
Yeah, it's odd. Like they she's she must be the Wizarding World equivalent of the phys ed teacher, and
Yeah.
there must be like okay, so we have our flying lesson one time in the first book in order to learn that Harry is a good natural flyer.
Uh-huh.
But the rest of the student body didn't just get that one time, right? Like that's just the only time that we took note of what was happening in that class. Like that had to have
Yeah.
continued in some form or fashion because otherwise what's the point of
It
doing it
literally
once?
had to have.
Yeah,
Yeah. You have to teach them how to do a thing.
yeah. It's
It takes
kind.
more than one.
I think of it kind of like Professor Binns's class or like Professor Sprouts' class, where like we're only in them literally once or twice in like the entire series. But like
Yeah.
they're
But
happening
they're
in the
always there.
background. Yeah, so like
Mm-hmm.
she must have some sort of wizard phys ed flying and maybe some other kind of are magic carpets a thing? Like I don't know. Is this where they learn how
Oh,
to
they talk
play?
about it in book 4, but I forget.
Yeah, is this where they learn how to play like gobstones and stuff like that? And then there's those tournaments that we learn are a thing, but we don't actually know anybody that does them because Harry isn't that.
He doesn't do that. Quidditch only.
Yeah, Quidditch is life. I don't know. It's weird. It's got to be a thing. But Ron would be that professor in the weird little spin-off of workplace comedy where
Yeah.
they're all teachers. I'm gonna
I love it.
speak that into existence. That's gonna have to be a thing. At least somebody make the like fan funded and created
Yeah, fan stuff.
version of that. Do that. That would be fun.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Okay, let's do some house points on this chapter before we go. In true Hogwarts fashion, these points are completely subjective with no oversight and fully at our discretion. This week, I'm giving house points to Ron, 10 of them, for standing up to Snape for Hermione. I'm giving Hermione, Ron, and the rest of the team, except for Wood, 5 points for being at Harry's side by when he woke up. And I'm giving Dumbledore 10 for saving Harry's life. Do you want to
Solid.
give any points to anybody?
Yes. Controversial. I'm gonna give Percy points because
Oh,
the school needed a head boy, and he was that head boy.
he was definitely
he
he's definitely a boy
they
with a
left,
giant head.
as we mentioned, they left the whole school in his hands, basically, in this other girl that we don't know who it is, maybe Penelope Clearwater. And he handles it, and it's fine and good. So good for Percy babysitting.
Yeah, it's got to be her. And that means that they weren't doing their jobs; they were fondling somewhere. Okay, so I'm going to take some points away from Snape, 25, for being a bully and a shit ass teacher to the 100th degree again. I'm going to take 5 for Draco for wussing
Yeah.
out of Quidditch, and I'm going to take 5 from Wood for not coming with the team to make sure that Harry was okay. Would you like to take any points from
Yeah.
anybody?
Yeah. Oliver Wood is not doing his best in this chapter for
No.
sure.
No.
I'm gonna take 10 points from Snape for trying to lead his students down a path to murdering another teacher of theirs.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be
That's not nice.
specifically recognize and kill. Zeesh.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Coming
okay.
on strong.
Yeah. Before we go, expecto plot changeo. Let's rewrite Harry Potter one small change at a time. This expecto plot changeo question is: what if Harry didn't see the black dog in the stands during the Quidditch match? What do you think?
I actually think that the Dementors still would have come, so I think he still would have fainted.
Interesting.
I guess he just wouldn't be like, someone's trying to kill me. Like I'm gonna die. That's a grim.
So I'm actually on the other side of this one.
Okay.
Lupin later in the book suggests that the reason that the Dementors couldn't stay away from the Quidditch match was because there were so many people with so much excitement and they've been hungry and not being able to feed off of the children because Dumbledore won't let them on the grounds.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's it at all. I think that they were there because that's where Sirius Black was.
Oh.
And so if Harry doesn't see the black dog, Sirius Black, and that black
He's
dog
not there.
isn't there, the Dementors don't come.
Yeah,
And
that
so
makes perfect sense, actually.
It's just Quidditch. And
Which
Harry
would have been a lamer chapter.
It would have been a much lamer chapter, but Harry wouldn't have been distracted from noticing the snitch.
Yeah.
He probably would have caught it because Harry catches every snitch that he's conscious for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's a much, much different chapter. And who knows if Lupin agrees to the lessons for the Patronus if there's not that very public display of these fuckers are after me. It's kind of a lot.
Wow. Yeah.
Kind of a lot.
Yeah. And I guess like Sirius is I don't know. He has been like lurking about the grounds though, but he was also in the castle, obviously, at the end of the last chapter. So
Mhm.
I'm just wondering if he was like, yeah, I'll risk it. I'll go out to the Quidditch pitch, and then the Dementors came and he was like, okay, bad idea, bad idea. I'll stay closer, like in Hogwarts, where they know they can't come because that's like the school.
Could be. That could be how he's
Yeah.
staying like off the radar, but he also like it also makes me wonder because the way he's able to get out of Azkaban is because he transforms into a dog and they don't
Mm-hmm.
notice him like out of there. That's
Mm-mm.
also how he was able
Yeah.
to like keep his part of the reason he was able to keep his sanity because he could transform into a dog and they didn't affect him as much. And so it
Yeah.
makes me wonder, did he also transform into his human form at some point in time and he wasn't a dog the whole time to attract them there in the first
Oh,
place?
and it triggered them. Yeah, interesting.
And why would he do that? So I don't know, maybe my theory
Why
thought
would he do that?
breaks. Maybe he can't stay a
Yeah.
dog all the time.
Or
Maybe
he
you literally can't like if he like literally as an animagus you can't stay a dog for like
yeah,
you know
yeah, or maybe you get stuck.
something or you like there's a I don't want to say
I
a
think that happens
timer
in
or something.
Animorphs.
Does
I
it?
think that happens in Animorphs is like
Hmm,
one of the Animorphs gets stuck. Yeah.
hmm, interesting. And everybody's
Yeah.
screaming Nagini and I'm screaming retcon. Okay, so how did we do? Let us know. I will pose this question on social media as well at Belated Binge on all the things. You can leave a voicemail, belatedbinge.com. There's Patreon, all the stuff. And that brings us to the end of this episode. Christina, thank you for putting yourself through this again. I don't know
Oh my
why.
god, thank you so much for having me. It's fun. These books are fun. It's like such a throwback, and I think that these chapters are where this book starts kind of like getting going a little bit,
Mhm. I agree. I agree.
entering the second act.
I'm really looking forward to getting to the Marauder stuff later on, honestly, but they're going to get more fun and more fun to get there. I think.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to that. It's sort of the turning a lot of people point at Goblet of Fire as like and if you subscribe to like the ring theory frame narrative thing, you know,
Mm-hmm.
where like Goblet of Fire is like the turning point of the series, and that's kind of the thing that
Yeah.
everything revolves around, and where all the mirroring of different books and stuff, and that stuff is very interesting to me. But I would argue that it's actually somewhere in this book that things start
Mm-hmm.
to shift. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it may not be the full on turning point the Goblet of Fire is because, you know, Voldemort is back and it's literally now the second half of the series. He's a human and we gotta fight him type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's in this book somewhere where things start to things will and maybe I'm misremembering and I'm just looking back fondly with my own retconning here, but I
Yeah.
I feel like it's somewhere in this book that stuff stops being so juvenile, I guess you could say that like the first couple
Yeah.
of books are and how this book starts. Things really start to
Mm-hmm.
roll towards that like darker, more really more of the adult in the young adult part of the
Yeah,
series.
totally. We finally get adult characters that like are like the care give you know what I mean? Like that are
Mm-hmm.
none of the teachers want to talk to Harry, but they're finally we have some adults that like want to talk to Harry, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's weird to me because I have found myself struggling a little bit with the connective tissue between the types of series that I'm doing in addition to Harry Potter on this podcast. And it's like, oh, I've
Mm-hmm.
got this book series for kids, and then I've got like the Sons of Anarchy and the like show not to be named yet, um, that are gonna be in similar veins, and it's very like this is kind of it's kind of dark undertone underworld type of like thematic stuff in them. And it's like, how does that relate to Harry Potter? And it's like, well, at a certain point, Harry Potter becomes very, very dark, very, very underworld,
Yeah.
very, very those like undertones. I just haven't gotten to them yet in the book
Yeah.
series for all of them to kind of start to really feel like they belong in the same topical universe. So I'm actually hopeful that it's going to happen in this book, and then all of my content is going to start to sort of like feel like they belong in the same place in a way that they haven't up until this point. That's my hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, plug all of the stuff and the things in the podcasts and the book and the literally anything. Just do the whole thing.
Thank you so much. Please listen to my Harry Potter podcast, the restricted section. Check out my new podcast, Burn Before Reading, where we're roasting cringy writing, and pre-order my book, Indie Book Publishing from Start to Finish. It's like a intro beginner's guide to the world of indie publishing, and that comes out January 9th. So you can pre-order it now.
And there will be links to all the things that I can find links to. And if Christina sends me a pre-order link, it will be in the show notes too. So all of the links of all the stuff's in the show notes, including my website and all of my stuff that you're familiar with already. Consider Patreon if you would like to be a part of the bonus binge squad and get some bonus content and all of the other perks that go with that. Thank you, as always, for listening and telling all of your Potterhead friends that their new favorite podcast should be Belated Binge Harry Potter.